All right, final attempt at recording tonight. Hopefully y'all see and or hear this. Very high likelihood that you don't though. This is the Thursday edition of Unqualified Analysis, the NFL edition of the show as well. This is my fourth time trying to record the episode here. My computer has just collapsed in and upon itself like a dying star 3 times in a row now. Hoping it was just a battery issue, so I have let the battery get to an acceptable level. I have turned down the brightness on my computer. I'm only using one recording software instead of the customary two, being Audacity and OBS, just OBS today. I'll figure out the audio from the OBS video file. We can make that happen. That's okay. Don't need to worry about that. We got a good NFL episode for you today. I'm hesitant to get into too much of a groove here because I don't know how long this is going to last. It didn't last too long the last couple times. We'll see if it lasts a while this time. I certainly hope it does. I certainly hope I can get through this entire recording, do a whole hour and a half, and then get this out to you tomorrow. No harm, no foul. No guarantee that happens though. So we're hesitant in the meantime, but a loaded slate of NFL games for you, hopefully on Thursday when you're listening to this. If not, I apologize. You'll never hear this anyways, so it is what it is there. Before we get into the NFL stuff, got to hit on one really big thing I forgot to talk about with the college football stuff. You probably already know what I'm going to get to here. Michigan beat the piss out of Michigan State 49-0. Nothing really of note about that outside of Michigan State having trivia about Hitler's birthplace on the Jumbotron. Generally just not a good idea. I would advise against doing trivia on where the Fuhrer was born. Just probably not a good idea. Would stay away from that. But as far as Michigan is concerned, that's the real crux of the issue here. They have found themselves in quite a little scandal here. Quite a little scandal, if I do say so myself. So here's the basics of it. Michigan is accused of having at least one staffer attend games for 11 of the 14 Big Ten teams, trying to steal signs and apparently doing it effectively and successfully at that. There's been no real hard evidence presented about that just yet. There's a sideline video where in the Ohio State game you can see the entire sideline looking over to the Ohio State sideline, well, the Michigan sideline looking all the way over to the Ohio State sideline when they get the call and then signaling pass. It was a pass, and by the way, Ohio State scored on that drive, so it didn't help them that much. You still got to execute even if you do know the signs. By and large, though, it was, I guess, Connor Stallions. Probably should mention his name. He's the guy at the center of this whole thing. He was the one that bought 33 tickets to different games throughout the course of the last 2 years, I believe. A lot of football games that he went to go and do whatever. I would you can take that for what it is. By and large, though, yes, by the letter of the law, this is cheating. This is, something where not every team has the resources to go out and do it, so creates a bit of an uneven playing field. Counterpoint, don't really care. Don't really care that much at all. I think some people are going to be clutching pearls and whatnot at this. Was it a little over the top? Was it cheating? Yes and yes. Again, by the letter of the law, it's cheating. But, this is, one, a point that Matt Rule brought up, head coach of Nebraska. This would all be just completely eliminated if you just put a microphone in one of the players' helmets. The quarterback on the offensive side, obviously, whoever the signal caller is on the defensive side, just you put a mic in a helmet, you don't got to worry about people stealing your signs because you're talking into a microphone. There's no signs to steal, pretty much. There's There's minor check signs. Obviously, got those at all levels just to make quick checks within the game. But as far as like sideline signs, you wouldn't have to worry about that. And in 2023, fairly cheap to get that done. You can very easily get that done. You only need two hot mics. Well, not hot mics. You know what I'm saying. Two mics and helmets on each team, pretty much. Maybe get an extra one here and there just in case the microphone goes out, speaker goes out. But I mean, there's no reason not to have speakers and helmets outside of. And this is something that I heard Jeff Saturday brought up. Unless you just want to steal the signs, that's pretty much the only reason not to have the microphones or speakers in the helmets. Otherwise, that's pretty easy to eliminate there. But ultimately, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. I don't know. Maybe as a younger man, I would be a lot more pearl clutching about this and talking about integrity of the game and whatnot, integrity of competition. As I've gotten older, you really start to see what the highest levels of competition are. And the highest levels of competition are people that are just uberly competitive to the absolute max. And people that are competitive to the absolute max, they find their way around the rules in as many ways as they possibly can. And you cannot tell me that some of these other big name programs with a whole lot of resources at their disposal haven't been trying to do the exact same thing. They were probably just smarter about it. Connor Stalions buying all those tickets in his own name, just stupid, absolutely dumb. You can't do that. I mean, find a proxy for God's sake. I mean, a sister, a friend, a rotation of like 4 to 5 different people that you just kick money on the side after the fact, but to get the tickets in the first place, they buy it in their name, so there's not just this big old paper trail. I'm not trying to tell you how to cheat, but there you go. There's a pretty easy blueprint right there to where if Connor Stalions had just done that instead of buying 30-some tickets in his own name, wouldn't be a problem. But as it stands right now, let me just lay out the situation for you. Michigan already just spat in the face of the NCAA on multiple separate occasions. Jim Harbaugh in particular has spat in the face of the NCAA in multiple different occasions. And the NCAA, if nothing else, they are a bunch of just soulless scumbags. But what they are also is people that hold a vendetta, can hold a grudge. So if, say, you may hear something through the grapevine about possible video and technology related cheating, maybe you're more inclined to pursue something like that, get to the bottom of it a little bit more than, say, if a different program that's not on the NCAA's shit list had done this, maybe they wouldn't take it quite so seriously. So, yes, the NCAA maybe is paying a little bit more attention to this than they would otherwise, just because it is Michigan. They have blatantly flown in the face of the NCAA on multiple different occasions, and Jim Harbaugh in particular has done that. So maybe that's a reason why they're pursuing it so aggressively. It doesn't change the fact that this could have major consequences for Michigan, major consequences for Jim Harbaugh's future at Michigan, and really this could have gone one of two different ways, in my opinion. It feels almost inevitable at this point. If they find the smoking gun, which according to Pete Thamel, the NCAA has been presented video evidence, over an hour long worth of video evidence of, I think specifically Connor Stalions allegedly stealing signs. We don't have any of that video public right now, so I can't speak to the veracity of that information. But the main thing is, I think like double-digit Big Ten schools were corroborating this and cooperating with the NCAA, which tells me that if by some chance Michigan just says, to hell with you, to hell with whatever punishment you put on us, we're going to do whatever we want, we're not going to suspend anybody, and we're just going to keep this thing moving, the Big Ten would probably step in and ensure that their own punishment was levied to make sure that they don't get away with it. Now, if this was just the NCAA going on a crusade with no approval from the Big Ten, no support there whatsoever, and they decide to levy a heavy punishment, this could have been the death knell for the NCAA right now. It doesn't look like it's going to be like that, but picture this. No support from the Big Ten. Probably no support nationally outside of that because the Big Ten is the most vested party there. If Michigan just decides to say screw you in that case and just decides to play, a lot like they did with the Harbaugh stuff, they just had a self-imposed 3-4 game suspension or whatever, which the NCAA already deemed too light. But the Big Ten, there you go, the Big Ten decided, screw you, this is good enough on our book. We're not going to do anything on our end here. Could have just kept it moving. That's what could have happened here. But the united effort of the teams in the Big Ten to come out here and kind of aid in the NCAA's effort tells me that that's not going to be the case, and I think that means Michigan and Jim Harbaugh are probably in trouble at the college ranks. I think this probably makes it more than likely that Jim Harbaugh jumps ranks and goes back into the NFL in all likelihood, especially with a looming large punishment on the horizon. Probably a large punishment for the University of Michigan just because of what they've done in the past to the NCAA. All that probably means that we may be seeing a wholesale unraveling of the Michigan program here in the next year or so. That's probably not going to happen in 2023. May even take a while in 2024, but I would imagine before the end of 2024, we're going to see a pretty heavy punishment against Michigan. Again, assuming that all of it is corroborated, which feels like it is trending in that direction. Pete Thamel has been saying some rather effusive things to that conclusion right there, which that's not a guy that really blows smoke up asses generally. He's usually dead on the money with a lot of this stuff. So if Pete Thamel thinks this is a big deal, I tend to agree that this is probably going to be a big deal. I would like to reiterate, don't care. Simply do not care whether Michigan was guilty of this, whether they weren't. If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. Doesn't seem like a lot of the coaches really care that much when it's all said and done. Obviously, some of them do because they're cooperating with the investigation with the NCAA right now and sending over evidence and whatnot. But, I mean, publicly, doesn't seem like a lot of them are very effusive to condemn Michigan or anything that possibly could have been going on there. So I don't care. This is still a big deal, though, at the end of the day. So it bears monitoring over the next, several months for sure to look at the actual punishment. But I would assume some of that video evidence that's been supplied to the NCAA is just going to find its way to magically get out into the public here over the next couple weeks or so. So that is what I am really looking forward to for now. But as of this very second, this is a situation that is percolating, bubbling below the surface, and can't really say much more than that right now. I'm just, again, don't really care that much. That's the bottom line here. Outside of that, though, let's talk about some NFL, shall we? Let's get into the NFL edition of Unqualified Analysis. I think we're probably far enough along in the podcast to kind of definitively say, think this recording is going to work. Famous last words. Maybe that's the last thing that's on this recording, but as of right now, let's roll into the NFL schedule for Week 7, shall we? Just polished off my second cup of coffee of the night because the first one was drank while I was trying to figure out why my computer was collapsing in upon itself like a dying star. Now that I seem to have figured out, at least to a certain extent, what's going on, we're good. We're feeling awesome right now. So let's get into the NFL schedule right now. Jaguars go on the road to the New Orleans Saints on Thursday night, and they get a win 31-24. Don't really want to spend a whole lot of time on this game. Just know that the Saints are a sad football team that are trying to cling on to the past. Talking to Buddy, an old co-host of this show, Zach, seems like a situation where basically everyone is going to get fired at some point here. I think Dennis Allen's probably a dead man walking. Seems like the locker room is in a little bit of disarray right now, which kind of speaks to, the fish rotting from the head and whatnot. Obviously, Pete Carmichael's offense not working, and it looks bad, quite frankly. Mina Kimes brought this up on Twitter, and I think it was just beautiful and completely accurate. having a guy like Derek Carr who is just chronically addicted to checkdowns and giving him Alvin Kamara is just like setting a fully loaded crack pipe right on a table in front of a crackhead. He's going to smoke it, and Derek Carr going to check down the ball. That's the main thing. Alvin Kamara, by the way, in this game, 12 receptions for 91 yards, 153 total yards in the game, 29 touches. He had 17 carries and 12 receptions in the game. That should tell you all you need to know about how Derek Carr has been playing in the Saints offense. It's just not been pretty at all. It's not like they don't have weapons here. I mean, Rashid Shaheed made one of the sickest catches that didn't count of the season so far. I mean, absolutely insane stuff. Chris Olave's been playing well. Excessive speeding arrest notwithstanding. Don't really need to get into that. That's not even really a big deal when it's all said and done. Who hasn't sped excessively at one point or another? 35 over is a little bit too excessive in all likelihood, but it is what it is. It's not really a big deal. It's not like he killed anyone. Not like he committed like a major crime. Just speeding fairly excessively. It is what it is there. But they got Chris Olave. They got Michael Thomas. Juwan Johnson's a really solid tight end. Got Alvin Kamara. It's not like they don't have weapons over there. It's just the offensive line hasn't been great. Derek Carr hasn't been great. Pete Carmichael said coming into the season, not at all sold on that offense, and he has done nothing so far to sell me on the offense. So it feels like everyone is going to get fired after this season. Hell, Mickey Loomis may even get the axe. And if Mickey Loomis gets the axe, a salute and good luck to whoever the next GM is over there in New Orleans, trying to unpack that cap hell that Loomis has woven over the last 10, 15 years there in New Orleans. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they were like $50 million over the cap, like 5 years down the road, just with how many like kick the can down the road contracts that he has signed over the last several years or so. But yeah, the times are feeling a little bit bleak over there in New Orleans. Outside of that, though, I mean, the Jags are solid. Jags scored 31 in this game on a really solid Saints defense. 5-2, starting to kind of run away with that AFC South right now. But yeah, it's just bad down in New Orleans right now. Very positive over in Jacksonville right now, though. But excuse me, we move on from there. On to the Sunday games. We got the Bears blowing out the Raiders with backup undrafted rookie Tyson Bagent starting for the Bears in this game. I don't believe he turned the ball over at all in this game either. Led 3 different touchdown drives. Looked abjectly not terrible, which is, that's good. Good for him, I suppose. Bears are now 2-5, I believe, on the season. Outside of that, I mean, the Raiders they're 3-4. They just lost by 3 scores to the Bears, though. And, I mean, their defense stinks. Their offense, I mean, just putrid, just terrible to watch. They just force-fed the ball to Devontae Adams in this one, but when you got Brian Hoyer starting, and I don't know what his exact numbers are, but Tyson Bagent led the game in passing yards with 162, so take that for what it is as far as Brian Hoyer's numbers in this game. Just bad all around. It's basically Devontae Adams, Max Crosby, and just the lifeless husk of a football team around those two guys. Just bad. Also Josh Jacobs, poor Josh Jacobs, after the year that he had last year, coming back on that franchise tag. No way the Raiders are going to pay him, and it's hard to get big-time money in free agency in the running back market right now. But yeah, it's just a matchup of 2 bad teams. I'm not really being fooled by the Bears here, though. I think they're still in pole position for the number 1 overall pick. Maybe not pole position. I mean, the Panthers are terrible. They are so bad. But the Panthers draft pick currently belongs to the Bears right now. So either way, probably going to get the number 1 overall pick, and the Bears are going to probably earn a top 5 pick in their own right. The Raiders, probably not far out of it in their own way, and probably in a worse position because they just don't have the draft capital. They've got a head coach that just seems like an insufferable asshole in most situations. They got guys that simply don't want to be there anymore. It seems like it's just bad, just bad. Somehow probably worse than the Saints in this situation. And the Raiders committed so much money to Josh McDaniels too. So we'll have to see how that all unfolds. I don't really have a whole lot of real thoughts on that game though. So keep it moving. Unexpected shootout of the week here. We had the Browns barely eking one out, 39-38 over the Colts on the road. And hell, if I told you that Deshaun Watson went out early in this game after throwing 2 interceptions. Also, by the way, had a cleared concussion protocol, was given his helmet back, but didn't go back in the game. I suppose he had the shoulder injury flaring up again. I don't know. The whole Deshaun Watson situation as far as him starting, sitting, all of that, just weird, just strange to the highest degree. And he's played so terribly, too, that it's just, man, I mean, taking a 10,000-foot perspective here, not, getting away from this particular game, Deshaun Watson and Russell Wilson both had massive trades for him in the same offseason, signed ginormous deals as well to go along with it. We may have seen 2 of the worst contracts and 2 of the worst trades in NFL history happen in the same offseason. Just crazy. I mean, Deshaun Watson's been abjectly terrible since he went to the Browns. Russell Wilson been even worse since he went to the Denver Broncos. This is just, I mean, crazy. And everyone thought that both of those were going to work out fairly well. We thought the Russell Wilson contract was going to work out very well because we thought Russell Wilson still had some juice left in the tank when he clearly does not. Morally, I think everyone hated the move by the Browns to send 3 first-round picks over to get Deshaun Watson. I don't think anyone expected Deshaun Watson to play as badly as he has, too. But, I mean, the Browns gave an even worse contract to Deshaun Watson, man. I mean, $230 million, all of it guaranteed. So, I mean, you can probably cut Deshaun Watson. You're still going to be on the hook to pay him every single cent of that $230 million contract, though. So, good luck with that. As far as this game actually goes, though, I mean, Myles Garrett, 2 sacks, ended up forcing a turnover late in the game, I believe, to end up getting this win, essentially. Basically, Myles Garrett is the one that won this game for the Browns. Don't be fooled by the 38 points that the defense gave up. Myles Garrett was the overall difference maker in this game. Solid performance, though, from Gardner Minshew, Jonathan Taylor, Josh Downs had a couple big plays in this game as well for Indianapolis. I mean, hey, credit to them. They are better than I thought they would be, and Shane Steichen's doing a hell of a job, even without their number 4 overall pick, number 5. I don't remember what the Colts were in this past draft. Without Anthony Richardson in the lineup. So good for them. Good for them for being solid this year. Jim Irsay tweeted out that Anthony Richardson had shoulder surgery and tweeted out that the Colts got hosed by the refs. So that's cool. I truthfully did not see the play where the Colts got hosed, but I believe it. I suppose. I think I think it was corroborated by the league, and loose lips sink ships. But no one told that to Jim Irsay, so Jim Irsay just said that to the world pretty much. So yeah. You got reasons to be pissed, I suppose, Colts fans, but maybe this is an unpopular take, but I think complaining about the refs is it's loser behavior, and if you're complaining about the refs, maybe you should take a little look internally when it's all said and done. I'm not a fan of refs generally. I think they're, especially in college, have some egregiously bad calls. That fair catch by Iowa, or the phantom fair catch by Iowa that cost them a touchdown, being front and center. There were some bad calls. The refs had a bad week this week. They had a really bad week. That's just kind of, you got to work around that though. If you put the game away when you had the opportunity, you wouldn't be in this position in the first place. So, I don't know, just saying, complaining about the refs is a little teensy-weensy bit of loser behavior, in my opinion. Just keep it moving from there, though. Browns get a crazy, crazy win. 39-38. I would have even leaned the under on this game, and they just blew that over-under out of the water, probably by about 30 points. Probably more than 30 points when it's all said and done. Wild game there in Indianapolis. Even wilder game, the Patriots host the Bills, and they get a win 29-25. Mac Jones looked downright serviceable. 272 yards, 2 touchdowns, no turnovers in the game. Even with Dalton Kincaid kind of breaking out a little bit, 8 receptions, 75 yards for the Bills on the other side, just was not good enough to get the job done. The Patriots just pull one straight out of their keister, and this is the Bill Belichick effect, quite frankly. He's gonna win some games within the AFC East that he has absolutely no business winning. But when you got a kind of flawed roster like the Buffalo Bills, a little bit top heavy in certain spots. Basically, it's Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, and a bunch of dudes on offense. And at this point, it's just who the hell even knows on defense? They are so just bereft because of injuries. Anyone can get it at this point. That's just kind of the Bills' defense at this point. They're just not good enough to win a championship this year, in my opinion. They've sustained too many injuries on the defensive side in particular to really consider them among the real contenders this year. And Josh Allen is kind of showing a few of those the fuck it Josh Allen sort of tendencies where he just thinks get a touchdown every single play that he can. He's a wild man. We love to watch him because he's a wild man, but sometimes being a wild man comes back to bite you in the ass, and it came back to bite them in the ass on multiple occasions. In this game, it's bit them in the ass on multiple occasions throughout the season. Bills are 4-3 now. Patriots are 2-5. Bill Belichick, that just conveniently leaked out through this week that the Patriots signed Bill Belichick to an extension in the offseason. Now, just taking the devil's advocate perspective here, though not necessarily devil's advocate because I legitimately believe this. Sure, big money contract. I'm very certain. I would assume they're on the hook for most, if not all, of that money if they were to fire Bill Belichick this offseason. Counterpoint. Bob Kraft is in his mid-80s, I believe, low to mid-80s right now. Time is a ticking. Who knows when he's going to kick the bucket? I hate to be so morbid about it, but it's a reality when you get to that age. He is a billionaire several times over, got a whole lot of money, probably wants to win one more championship before he kicks the bucket and sails into the afterlife down the river Styx. I don't think whatever the buyout happens to be for Bill Belichick's contract is going to be any sort of obstacle if Bob Kraft feels like this is the way forward to possibly winning another championship before he leaves this earth. So cool, good for Bill Belichick getting even more money. I don't think it's going to stop him from being fired if that's what Bob Kraft wants to do at the end of the day. So I mean, it's some people call that peace of mind, probably among the Patriots fan base, probably quelled a few voices that are talking about maybe him being fired after this season. I still don't really think they fire Bill Belichick after this season just because he's put in, so much equity. 6 Super Bowls in New England since he got there. Really, since Brady left, though, even before Brady left, you can look at what Bill Belichick, the GM, has done, and it is less than impressive. I think the real solution here for the Patriots is taking away the GM powers, a lot of the personnel powers from Bill Belichick. Obviously, you're going to have him collaborating to a large extent, but hiring a full-time GM, just having Bill Belichick coach and letting the GM acquire talent, probably the way forward. That doesn't involve Bill Belichick getting fired, quite frankly. So that feels like the most likely outcome from this. But will Bill Belichick stick around if he no longer has the GM duties? I don't know. I am not entirely sure about that. But if you look at Bill Belichick's track record as the GM the last several seasons, it's not pretty, especially on offense. The offensive line's been bad. No Dante Scarnecchia around there anymore, which has been, you could see from the second that Dante Scarnecchia left, it has been a steady decline of that offensive line every single year since then. I think he's probably one of the big unsung heroes of that Patriots dynasty, even more so than Ernie Adams. I think Ernie Adams gets all sorts of shine, just being the behind-the-scenes wizard that just kind of is a football genius that figures things out. Dante Scarnecchia was probably the best offensive line coach of all time, and that's a big reason why the Patriots had so much success, because they had great offensive lines every single year. Ever since Dante Scarnecchia retired, just simply has not been the case for the Patriots. So, I mean, that and the personnel decisions outside of the defense, because I think the defense, you've made some solid additions there. Offensively, it just has not been good enough. So I think going forward, probably hire a GM with heavy input from Bill Belichick on the defensive side as far as personnel moves are concerned. But offensively, probably need to take that out of his hands entirely going forward. I mean, this is the man who hired a joint staff of Matt Patricia and Joe Judge as the offensive coordinator last season, and then just kind of went back to the well with Bill O'Brien this season, which I don't think this is all Bill O'Brien's fault. He's got a terrible group of weapons to work with, a bad offensive line, and a quarterback that I firmly don't believe in at this point. So I think changes are coming in New England at the end of the season. Nothing is going to happen in the season. Even if they go like 3-14 or something like that, if they just totally bottom out, I don't see a whole lot of stuff happening in season. I think big changes are probably coming in the offseason, though, if I had to guess. Keep it moving from there. The Commanders go on the road to the Giants, and they lose just a stinker, just a disgusting display of football. 14-7, the final score in this one. Tyrod Taylor looking better than Daniel Jones has looked at any point so far this season. I do not think they're going to bench Daniel Jones because they paid him all of that money, and fair or not, sunk cost fallacy or not, you pay a guy $190 million overall or guaranteed or something like that. You're going to play him. You're going to play him basically no matter what. I would like to say, I said you should sign Saquon Barkley to a long-term contract and franchise tag Daniel Jones for this very exact reason, because he was a one-year wonder. He had a very, very good year last year. I would have liked to see that happen one more time before forking over big bucks. Has not happened so far this year. If he'd been on the franchise tag, you could just say sayonara this offseason, accept the bad record that the Giants are probably going to have at the end of this, and then draft a QB in an absolutely loaded draft this upcoming season. Unfortunately, you're stuck with this guy for probably at least 3-4 years. It was a 4-year contract. I don't know what the technicalities are as far as team options and whatnot. I bet there is probably a team option after the 3rd year, but you're stuck with Daniel Jones for this year, next year, probably the year after as well, and he's been just terrible. He has not been good at all this year. The backup Tyrod Taylor has been playing better than Daniel Jones this year. Tough times for the New York Giants, but they did win this game. They're now 2-5, but they did win this game. Darren Waller looked actually good in this game as well with Tyrod Taylor, which is a guy that I'm surprised has not worked out better. I thought they would use him a whole lot more to kind of keep Daniel Jones comfortable, and I thought having Darren Waller in there would mean a similar year from Daniel Jones to what we saw last year, but it's just been night and day bad for Daniel Jones. And they're not even halfway through the season, so there's time to get it right. But right now, it's just bad. It's all bad right now for the New York Giants. Commanders, somehow even worse. At the very least, you aren't committed financially to a quarterback right now. You're starting Sam Howell because that's the guy you had in there and you wanted to see what you had. I'm not really sure how much you even learned about Sam Howell because he's been sacked so many times. And part of that, granted, is the fact that Sam Howell holds onto the ball too long. You don't get 40 sacks in 7 games just through a bad offensive line. Don't get me wrong, they do have a terrible offensive line. One of the worst offensive lines in the entire league right now. But Sam Howell has his own share of blame there. Like I said, you don't get the 40 sacks just on the strength of a bad offensive line. It takes a little bit of ill-advised holding of the ball from the quarterback to get to that point as well. I don't know if Sam Howell is all that good. It just has not worked out at all so far this season. Just wondering when they decide to pull the trigger and put Jacoby Brissett in this game, because that's why you bring in Jacoby Brissett. If if the Sam Howell experiment doesn't end up working out, you got a guy in the wings waiting there to take over the reins. You're 7 games in. You're 3-4. Feels like we are on the cusp of, put up or shut up time, man. They have to make a decision here if they want to make a push for the playoffs. In my opinion, the defense isn't bad. They've played bad at times. They've got solid personnel though. Obviously, first round pick Emmanuel Forbes. Pains my heart to say it, but he has not played well at all this year. But outside of that, haven't been a terrible defensive unit. They've had some bad performances, but haven't been a terrible defensive unit. Feels like Ron Rivera is on his last legs, though. The fans don't like him. It feels like more and more it's just been not good. Just not good over there. He's not exactly an expert on the mic as far as not putting his foot in his mouth, which doesn't help him. On the sidelines, seems to be a mute, quite frankly. Unless he's saying punt, go for it, or kick a field goal, I don't think he talks throughout the entire game. I don't know what Ron Rivera necessarily does in the sideline there, outside of stare off into the middle distance and watch football. Got a good seat, one of the best seats in the house to watch a football game, but as the head coach, I would expect a few more vocalizations, I would say. Feels like this is probably Ron Rivera's last year as the Commanders head coach, so... Which, it makes sense. Even outside of like the stuff happening on the football field, you got a new ownership group coming in there. I think Ron Rivera might actually be the GM as well. So, new ownership group, probably wants a clean slate. That's kind of Dan Snyder's guy that was hired, Ron Rivera, that is. So, probably would just want a clean slate overall. Maybe you promote Eric Bieniemy to head coach. I'm not sure the offense has performed well enough to warrant that hiring, quite frankly. It just hasn't really worked out that way to this point. I think the offense has looked better than it did under Bill Callahan last year. But I think this Josh Harris probably wants a full clean slate. With the commies right now, and I don't blame him. I don't blame him one bit, because it is his football team now, and it is not maybe not God given, but financially given right to create it in whatever image he decides to create it in. So I don't know. Feels like the Giants are a sadder football team. Probably more changes are coming for the commies this offseason than coming for the Giants. Joe Shane and Brian Dable still working to build something over there with the Giants. Probably a little bit more of a rebuild than was expected after last season. So keep an eye on that, I suppose, as far as the Commanders go. But just two not very good football teams facing off. The clear bottom two in that division, and it's a wide gulf between the bottom two and the top two. We'll be talking a little bit more about that when we talk about the preview for Week 8. But keep it moving from here. Despite everything Desmond Ridder did in this game, despite fumbling on the 1-yard line, I believe 3 different times, at least 2 different times he fumbled on the 1-yard line. All of the bad stuff that you saw from the offense. Who was it? Bijan Robinson playing like 6 snaps the whole game because he had migraines, headaches, something coming in, kind of murky as to what that was. Wasn't on the injury report, just kind of popped up last second, where he just was not really a factor in this game. I think he had like 1 carry the whole time. Tyler Algier, God bless his heart, he was just running headlong into Vita Vea the entire day. 21 carries for 59 yards. That's a full day's work right there. Get yourself in the ice bath there, bud. That's tough. That is, tough running, tough sledding, just a tough day for a running back overall, but you survived. And despite all of that, the Falcons come away with a win 16-13 over the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers are now 0-3 after starting 3-0 to the season. And Baker Mayfield wasn't terrible in this game. He's, throwing the ball to Mike Evans, another guy that had a pretty solid game in this one. Credit to Mike Evans for just being Mr. Consistent year after year, no matter who the quarterback is. Shoo-in Hall of Famer. Love myself some Mike Evans. Really, the unsung hero of that Texas A&M team that had Johnny Manziel on it. Some people may forget that Mike Evans was the star wide receiver for Johnny Manziel just because Johnny Manziel was such a bright star there with Texas A&M. But definitely the best player from that Texas A&M team. Still playing, in fact, after all of these years, while Johnny Manziel is currently just drinking every day and making documentaries about his whirlwind playing career. Mike Evans still chugging along here, so credit where it's due. The Buccaneers, I might have punted a little bit early on that number 1 overall pick projection for those boys over there, man. They still might be terrible. 3 straight losses now, and this was close. The defense played their hearts out, but ultimately, you get 3 different turnovers from Desmond Ridder. Bijan Robinson's not playing, and you still lose. That's tough. That is tough right there. Falcons 4-3, crucial divisional win there to get over 500, and I think probably the favorite to win that division. I mean, they're not a great team. Desmond Ridder holds them back, quite frankly. I think the Falcons have a really good defense, though. Running game-wise, weapons-wise, my God. Kyle Pitts is starting to come on now. Drake London. You got a stable of backs in the backfield. Good offensive line. Basically, everything but the quarterback for the Falcons is set to go out there and win this division, make a playoff run. And I still think they do end up doing that. But again, I said it last week, I'll say it again here. Desmond Ridder just is not the guy for him. He's been, put up a lot more yards here recently, but the turnovers have just been killing the Falcons, absolutely killing them over the last several weeks or so. So I have very little faith in the Falcons once they get into the postseason. But they're in a division with the Saints, the Panthers, and the Buccaneers, who they just beat. Falcons may not be very good. They're better than all of those teams, though, right now. So, yeah, that prediction's looking good as well. I think the Falcons end up winning the NFC South. Not a whole lot of trust in them outside of that. And I do think, and it may just be my bias talking, but I do think the Vikings do end up beating the Falcons at some point later on when they do end up playing each other. I'm getting a little ahead of myself now, though. Pretty much squeeze all the juice I can out of that one. Also, by the way, you want to talk about a possible destination for Jim Harbaugh after this year? Buccaneers, possibly. Bears, Commanders. A lot of options to go with next season for Jim Harbaugh if he does end up floating away in the night after this college football season to avoid any big suspension coming down the pipe from the NCAA. We'll get to that when we get to that, though, in the offseason. Right now, that's just percolating under the surface, but something to keep in mind as we go through all these games and start thinking of coaches that probably will not survive through to the end of this season. Jim Harbaugh is a top candidate for every job that comes open. Just keep that in mind going forward. This was a big surprise, this next game. The Lions go on the road to the Ravens, and honestly, I'm very glad I stayed away from this one because I thought the Lions were possibly going to come in and win. And I was kind of confused as to, well, not confused. I understood why the Ravens are favored because they were also very good and they were at their home field. But I was worried about guys like, Michael Lombardi. That's really the one. He kind of just laid out. He really liked the Ravens in that game, and I really like the Lions, and Lombardi knows more about football than I could ever know, so I just stayed away from that one, and had a bad week of gambling, but did not make it worse by picking the Lions. Lions got beat bad, 38-6. This was over by halftime. Lamar Jackson. Let's check this stat line in its entirety right now, because he had an insane day. 21 of 27. Passing, 357 passing yards, 13.2 yards per passing attempt, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, 9 carries for 36 yards and a touchdown on the ground. So 4 touchdowns on the day. Did lose 1 fumble, but when you have 4 touchdowns on the day, simply does not matter. He was insane in this game. We're starting to see what this Todd Monken offense can do. I think they're starting to round into form. And this was a Detroit Lions defense that was playing very well coming into this. Specifically on the ground, they were one of the best running defenses in the entire league. The Ravens ran for 146, 5.4 yards per carry, and 2 touchdowns on the day. It was a clinic right here, and that's not even mentioning the 13.2 yards per passing attempt. They diced up this defense and made it look easy too. Over 500 yards of offense in the game. The Ravens were unstoppable against a really solid defense. One of only 2 losses for the Detroit Lions so far this year. I'm all in on the Ravens right now, man. I think after this game, I think you are starting to see what the Todd Monken offense can do. I think you are starting to see the superiority scheme-wise from what he had with Greg Roman, he being Lamar Jackson, obviously. And I think it'll continue to only grow from here. I mean, yes, you got big plays from like Gus Edwards out of the backfield, but Zay Flowers played well. Mark Andrews played well. Odell Beckham Jr. led the team in receptions in this game. Hey, Rashad Bateman had a couple big plays in this one. Patrick Ricard found himself more open than he has been in his entire life. 300-pound man running for nearly 30 yards on 1 reception. It was a clinic of both offense and the players in that offense. I think you're starting to see the potential kind of rise to the surface here for the Ravens. I think behind the Chiefs, I'm not sure there's a better team in the AFC right now behind the Chiefs than the Ravens. They are firing on all cylinders at this point. And I think I don't know if they're going to run away with that division just because of how just loaded that AFC North is. Kitchen perpetually hot in the AFC North. But, I mean, they are clearly one of the 2 best teams in the conference to me right now. The Bills have kind of fallen back. Obviously, the Chiefs are the Chiefs. The AFC South is kind of a joke. The AFC West, obviously Chiefs. AFC East, again, that just a bunch of teams that I think are kind of falling behind. I think the AFC is a little bit down from what it was last year right now. But this Ravens team, the defense is, I mean, spectacular as per usual. They lead the league in sacks, and I don't know if can we really name one pass rusher? I mean, I know Odafe Owe. They got guys like Arthur Mollett, Kyle Van Noy coming straight off the couch, getting 2 sacks in this game. Hey, Odafe Owe getting a sack as well, so good for him. But, I mean, Justin Madubuike, a name that, you know, true football heads have heard, but I think the average fan probably never heard of the guy before in their entire life. You got, I mean, just players in the secondary playing well, too. You got Marlon Humphrey, Jadeveon Clowney on this team as well. People forget, people being me, by the way. I mean, 6 passes defensed in the game as well, 8 QB hits, 5 sacks. I mean, they've just dominated in this game. So they dominated in this game. They dominated so far this season, specifically in the pass rush. And if that offense can continue to play the way it has played in this game for the Ravens, I say it a lot of times on this podcast, but in the great words of the great Michael Jordan, the ceiling is the roof for this team, man. They could really go all the way to the Super Bowl if they get to that point. If they're given the opportunity, I think they might end up with home field advantage if they're able to run the table from here on out. But I'm very high on the Ravens right now, and it could change over the course of a week just like that. But for right now, beating the Lions by 4 scores, 4 touchdowns plus some, almost 5 touchdowns. Lions being one of the best teams in the NFC right now, I am all in on the Ravens. I was very high on them to start the year. Very high on them coming in. I think I had them winning the AFC North, and I feel very vindicated in that right now. I think they are going to end up... did I have them winning the NFC North? I couldn't remember if I picked the Bengals or the Ravens. Probably end up picking the Ravens just because of all that stuff, but, you know, hindsight's 50-50. What is there to say? I'm very, very high on the Ravens, though. Let's keep it moving. Steelers get a win 24-17 over the Rams. I believe T.J. Watt ended up making a big play in this game that ended up winning them the game. Minka Fitzpatrick had a huge game. Nick Herbig, another Wisconsin product out there, had a big game. First sack of his career. Got to see what's going. Oh yeah, T.J. Watt had an interception. That was the big turning point in this game that ended up being the difference for him. Matt Canada's offense continues to be hot trash, but the defense for the Pittsburgh Steelers just always consistently very, very good. And that's no different this year. I mean, the offense, they had 3 rushing touchdowns, only 3 yards per carry though. Kenny Pickett 9 yards per attempt. A lot of that was because George Pickens and Deontay Johnson had big games though, so that'll help. That'll help anytime you get big games from your top 2 wide receivers. Also, welcome back to the lineup. To Deontay Johnson, newest member of my fantasy football team, but no one cares about fantasy football teams, so we'll just keep it moving from there. Wheeled Najee Harris out of there because he is just boom or bust when it comes to the touchdowns. But again, no one cares about your fantasy team. Keep it moving from here. Cooper Kupp, not a huge game in this game. Puka Nacua actually had a bounce back game in this one. Still kind of yet to be seen if those two can kind of coexist. Maybe it was just a really strong defense. I'm kind of inclined to believe that was a big factor in this one. But Matthew Stafford had a bad game, 14 for 29, 231, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Really bereft of talent in the backfield. Was supposed to be Zach Evans that ended up starting last week. That was the prognostication. Royce Freeman and Darrell Henderson ended up being the top 2 backs in this game. Darrell Henderson, who by the way was not on the team last week, say hello to the old face, just plug him right back in. Had 18 carries in this game, like he never even left. It's just why do you even have Zach Evans on the roster at that point? Why was he even on the roster? I digress on that front. Rams now 3-4. Just not a very good football team. I think they're kind of coming back down to earth after that start. I think they probably played a little bit above what their talent level was, just because, again, and I said this coming into the season, Sean McVay is still a really good head coach, and I think he schemed up some stuff to start, but it's starting to come back around. The defense, honestly, kind of keeping them in a lot of these games, but the offensive line has not been good. Running game, Kyron Williams has been solid, but I mean, just not good enough right now. I mean, the Rams, especially in that division, they'll probably get a cheap win here or there versus the Cardinals. They got a win already versus the Seahawks. And Sean McVay is going to keep you in a lot of games, but they're just not. They're not a playoff team. They simply are not a playoff team. I mean, they're not even top 4 in their own, well, by default, they're top 4 in their own division. They're not top 2 in their own division, though, with those teams that are ahead of them. So we keep it moving from there. Steelers, though, 4-2 after how bad this offense has looked. Anyone trying to fire Mike Tomlin is dumb. Quite frankly, not smart. So keep it moving from there. Cardinals go on the road to the Seahawks, lose by 10. 20-10 being the final score there. Kenneth Walker had a big game with 105 yards. Jackson Smith-Njigba, I believe, had his first NFL touchdown. If it was not his first, it was his second. Either way, not the best wide receiver in the draft. That was, of course, Jordan Addison, but we'll get to him in a hot second here. Keep it moving from there. Packers drop another one, this time on the road against the Broncos. They lose 19-17. And Jordan Love just might not be good. I already talked about it last week, getting eyes on the offense. Obviously, Matt LaFleur does not trust him to push the ball down the field, probably because he's complete like 25% of his passes. I think like 10 yards or more down the field or 15 yards or more down the field might be a reason why he just throws the ball short relentlessly. Got a rocket arm. I think probably has improved over the couple years of sitting behind Aaron Rodgers, but simply he's not it. Just not it. I think the Packers, probably outside of the Bears, probably the third best team in the NFC North right now. Obviously, the Lions are in first. We all kind of figured that coming into the season. Just disregard what I said in the division preview for the NFC North. No one has to remember that. We don't have to bring up those memories. But Vikings probably in second right now. Packers, I would say distant third, but that feels like my bias is coming in. So they are third. And the Bears obviously being the Bears, they're in fourth right now. But this isn't a playoff team for the Packers. I think David Bakhtiari, I think you probably got to cut bait and take your losses there. I don't know if he's ever going to be healthy again, quite frankly. The knee issue is just too much to overcome, and I get it. I understand it. You get to a certain level, you get to a certain age, it just kind of all falls apart body-wise, but you gotta identify what you're seeing and move forward from there. I just don't think that David Bakhtiari probably has a long-term future with the Packers, quite frankly. They're banged up across the board. Aaron Jones still dealing with the hamstring injury that he suffered back in week 1. The defense is the defense. Still got Joe Barry there for whatever reason. They haven't really played great this year, and now they got a bunch of injuries on the defensive side of the ball too. So it just doesn't feel like it's not shaping up for the Packers to go on a run late in the season. I'll just put it that way. And I will never call for a team to tank, but it feels like you should be in the market for a quarterback in this upcoming draft. So look for the Packers to be going that way. Coincidentally, they play the Vikings this upcoming week. Who knew? Certainly not I. I didn't know that coming into this. But hey, Broncos, they get a win. Still look sad while doing it somehow. Russell Wilson only 194 yards. Javonte Williams had an all right game, 82 yards on 15 carries. So that's cool. That's cool, I suppose. Yeah, that's really all I got to say about that. I think Jordan Love actually had like a pretty crucial interception to set up the Broncos late. Well, actually not set up the Broncos. Basically to end the game, Jordan Love just kind of threw an arm punt that ended up losing the game for the Packers. So that's kind of, that tells you just about all you need to know about Jordan Love and his performances so far this year. We move on to the Chiefs, making a statement against the Chargers, putting them away 31-17. Pat Mahomes had by far his best game of the season, 424 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 1 interception. Travis Kelce, 12 receptions, 179 yards, a touchdown. And if I were anyone in the Chiefs organization, I would find the magic cocktail of monetary inducements, benefits, all sorts of stuff to just make sure Taylor Swift is at every single game of every single week. Because it seems like every time Taylor Swift shows up to a Chiefs football game, Travis Kelce plays out of his mind. And that's, part of just Travis Kelce being Travis Kelce. But at the same time, the numbers don't lie, man. He goes absolutely apeshit every time that Taylor Swift is in attendance. Now Taylor Swift has got secret handshakes with Brittany Mahomes, where Jackson Mahomes is just kind of, weaseling his way in there. Hey, Taylor, watch out for Jackson, okay? He's got a history. You can look it up yourself, but Jackson's got a history. Watch him. Make sure your security detail that I know is at every single game, because you're Taylor fucking Swift. Why would you not have a security detail everywhere you go? Make sure they watch that tall motherfucker, because he's scheming. If I know anything about Jackson Mahomes, is that son of a bitch be scheming. That's all I got to say on that subject there. But Chiefs come out here, get a statement win 31-17. Brandon Staley looking like even more of a dead man walking over there with the Chargers. That's another job that probably going to come open after this season. Would be an attractive spot for a Jim Harbaugh, though I don't know. I think Jim Harbaugh is probably going to implement kind of a similar offensive philosophy that he's had at Michigan, with heavy on the ground game. Just ask your quarterback to be efficient. High yards per attempt, not a whole lot of passing yards, not a whole lot of passing attempts, ideally, in that offense. And I just don't think that's the direction that the Chargers want to go. And I also think that they probably like Kellen Moore. I wouldn't be surprised if they just promoted Kellen Moore to head coach once Brandon Staley eventually is asked to part ways with the Chargers. And it is against the Patrick Mahomes and that Chiefs offense, so take it with a grain of salt, I suppose. But another game where the defensive guru Brandon Staley gives up 30 points. The defense has not worked any single year that he has been there. The offense has been up and down. Justin Herbert has been abjectly disappointing this year. No two ways about it. Basically, his entire receiving core is healthy, outside of obviously not having Mike Williams in there. But Keenan Allen has stayed remarkably healthy so far this season. Also, you want to talk about a guy who's low key on the hot seat, Tom Telesco. I mean, all of those big time free agent acquisitions, and I guess Khalil Mack is kind of turning it on this year, but J.C. Jackson, they just sold for pennies back to the New England Patriots a couple weeks ago. Khalil Mack had a bad year last year. Kyle Van Noy is no longer on the team. I mean, you can go down the list. There's just has not worked out well for a lot of those additions that Tom Telesco made last offseason in his all-in attempt. So another guy maybe on the hot seat. I would be more inclined to think that Brandon Staley is the one that's going to get the axe in this situation, though. But yeah, staying away from the depressing stuff. The Chiefs are, I mean, I would say pretty clearly the best team in the AFC right now. And another thing I've said before, and I'll continue to say until the cows come home, this is the best defense that Patrick Mahomes has had since he has been in Kansas City. And the offense is starting to come around. Obviously, it leans very heavily on Travis Kelce. Why wouldn't you when you got maybe the best tight end, certainly the best pass-catching tight end of all time on your team? But you probably need some wide receivers to step up. Rashee Rice, second-round pick out of SMU in this past draft. He is starting to turn it on a little bit. I think he caught a touchdown in this one. At the very least, had a solid game in this one. You got McCole Hardman back. He made a big play on special teams, which basically the Chiefs are just becoming the Patriots. You lose a guy in free agency, and then you basically trade him back to your own sideline for salvage value from the Jets. That is just a classic Patriots move that they've done time and time again. The Chiefs are now the Patriots, pretty much. What else is there to say outside of that? But yeah, Chiefs very clearly the number one team in the AFC right now, and they are just barreling towards another Super Bowl appearance as far as I mean, you can basically just pencil them into the AFC Championship right now versus maybe the Ravens, maybe the Bills if they end up kicking it in down the stretch. Hell, maybe even the Bengals if they find a way to kind of get the offense rolling a little bit more. You know, Joe Burrow, I would assume, is even healthier after the bye week, so be something to keep an eye on there. But I think the Chiefs are pretty clearly going to be, at the very least, in the AFC Championship game. Probably going to end up having a first-round bye because, I mean, they're 6-1 right now. They could very easily be 16-1 by the end of this season. They are really, really good with the defense leading the way over there. So what else is new? The modern dynasty after the Patriots continues to be just an embarrassment of riches with what they have around Patrick Mahomes on the defensive side of the ball. This is just a really, really good team that the Chiefs have right now. But we move on. The Eagles in the Sunday night game get a big-time statement win over the Dolphins, improved to 6-1, bounce back from that loss they had last week to the Jets. They win 31-17 over the Dolphins. And that defense shutting down that vaunted Dolphins offense. Some were calling them the greatest show on turf, but better. Chill. Let's chill the fuck out, guys. Let's chill. They've not really hardly played anyone so far this year. You can go back and look at their wins thus far. They've come against some not very good defenses to this point in the season, so let's all temper expectations. I think they're going to have another opportunity to show what they're made of. I think they're playing the Jets this week. Let me go check. No, they're playing the Patriots, so still not proving anything. Chiefs in Frankfurt, though. I think they're in Frankfurt. Maybe they're in Munich. Either way, that Germany game, get rid of those stupid London games. The Germany game is where it's at. That game versus the Chiefs in Germany, probably going to be one of the most lit atmospheres of the entire season. I hate that I'm going to be working during that game. That is going to be such a fun game. Chiefs and Dolphins in Frankfurt or wherever it is, Munich. I don't know if they're in Bayern Munich Stadium. Either way, the Germans actually know the rules of football. They love the sport of football, and they go absolutely apeshit at these games. That's going to be maybe the most lit environment of the entire season. Playoff, regular season, I don't care. That game in Germany between the Chiefs and Dolphins is going to be special. That is going to be an awesome game. Mark my words now. That is 2 weeks down the road. Obviously, they got the Patriots this weekend and then the Chiefs in Germany the following weekend. But Still everything in front of them at this point. We're early-ish in the season. We're like middle of the season at this point, but they got some things to figure out. It feels like every time they go up against a team where they got a quality defense, like the Bills pre-Matt Milano injury, I think might have had Tre'Davious White out at that point. I can't quite remember, but they got worked by the Bills 48-20, and then they get worked by the Eagles. The common through line on both of those teams is they had solid defenses at the time, and solid defenses that can get to the quarterback at that. So that's got to be concerning if you're a Miami fan right now. That might be the Achilles heel. Maybe they're just a team that can beat the hell out of some bad teams, but when it comes to playing against big-time playoff caliber defenses that they'll face the deeper they go into the playoffs, certainly if they face off against the Chiefs in the playoffs, certainly in Germany here in a couple weeks, maybe they're just not quite up to the task at this point with this current construction to go in and rise up to that challenge. I don't know. I'm not really here to make any effusive statements one way or the other at this point in the season, but at 5-2, you got some time to figure out some ways around that. I think not having Devon Achane certainly doesn't help. He's electric. I mean, said he was my favorite rookie coming out. I still believe that. He'll be back after that 4-week stint on IR and be right back in it. Also going into the bye week too, so he'll have 5 straight weeks off to get that knee healthy, and then he'll come back looking spry as ever, I would imagine. So no worries there. I think with Devon Achane in the game, probably would have turned out a little bit differently, I would imagine. But the Eagles, man, they look so good. A.J. Brown is looking like the best receiver in the league right now. He's playing out of his mind. I believe 5 straight games with 100 yards. I think that might be an NFL record at this point too. He is playing so good, so good on the offensive side of the ball. Even with Jalen Hurts turning the ball over more, I mean the run game's still working. People are still talking about banning the tush push, which I side with Nick Sirianni after the game, who said, quote, "If it was easy, everyone would do it." Beautiful. Could not have said it better myself. And you see other teams trying the tush push, and it simply doesn't work. So that's, again, if they ban the tush push, it is because they are losers who want to help the offense, not even help the offense, just kneecap the Eagles by any means possible for whatever reason. It's basically just, it would be a targeted rule change just at the Eagles. I'll put it that way, because no other team can run it as effectively as the Eagles. So yeah, I hope they don't change that rule. I hope they don't change the rule, but another big win for the Eagles here. They're 6-1, looking like, I mean, right there neck and neck with the 49ers, but after the 49ers lose on Monday night, which we're about to talk about, maybe the best team in the NFC right now, and especially with the addition of, from the Tennessee Titans, the Eagles traded for Kevin Byard, still one of the best safeties in the entire league, and in a spot of critical need for the Eagles right now. And Reed Blankenship has been playing well, so credit where it is due. But Kevin Byard is a former All-Pro, still probably a Pro Bowl caliber level of safety, and a guy that they really needed on the back end. That was really the one sort of hole in this defense. I mean, obviously, linebacker play has been iffy at points this year. Cornerbacks, though, you got Darius Slay, who made a big play in this game. I mean, really, the play that turned the game. I mean, it was 24-17. Dolphins were driving in the third quarter with a possible, I mean, they were in a groove too. They were possibly going down to tie the game up. And what do? I mean, Tua throws an interception to Darius Slay. Darius Slay takes it back a good distance, and on the ensuing possession, Eagles score a touchdown. It's basically game over from there. Stick a fork in her. She's done. It's over at that point. And then that, solidified the final score 31-17. That was the tail of the game. Play made by Mississippi State product Darius Slay. And of course, you got Bradbury on the other side. I mean, you've got a stable of rushers on the front. I mean, Jalen Carter looking like one of the best defensive tackles in the league already. The ageless Fletcher Cox, another Mississippi State product. I know he went to Yazoo City High School, like he likes to say in his pregame intros, but I won't forget you, buddy. I know Mississippi State kind of did Sylvester Croom dirty in your eyes, and you got some hard feelings there, but we know you went to Mississippi State, buddy, and I won't let people forget it, quite frankly. But yeah, outside of him, I mean, Hassan Reddick, Josh Sweat, Nolan Smith is making some good plays as well. Other first-round picks so far in the draft in 2023. I mean, they just keep rolling these guys out on the defensive front. Still one of the best pass rushers in the entire league. And with the addition of Kevin Byard back there on the back end, I mean, the Eagles right up there with the Niners right now as far as best teams in the NFC. Even after the Niners lose 2 straight, I think that the Niners probably either best or second best in the NFC right now. They're just that good. But let's talk about those Niners, shall we? Because they went into a hornet's nest in Minneapolis in Levi's Stadium. And what do the Vikings do? They come out there, they get the win, 22-17. Jordan Addison had a coming out party, 7 receptions, 123 yards, 2 touchdowns. Kirk Cousins, you want to talk about a coming out party? 35 of 45, 378 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. And that interception was basically ripped out of Jordan Addison's hands. It's okay. Jordan Addison paid it forward just before halftime, ripped a touchdown, ripped a pass right out of Charvarius Ward's hands, which, if you may remember, Ward was the one that got the pick in the first place. Addison pays it forward to that exact same guy, steals it out of his arms, and goes for a touchdown. Steve Wilks called an all-out blitz on that play, which Kyle Shanahan outright admitted that was the wrong call, and Steve knows that he messed up on that call. It is what it is there. It ended up making the Vikings a victor in this game, and they stole a game that I, frankly, was not expecting them to steal, quite frankly. Cameron Bynum, unsung hero in that back end, really played Lewis Seen out of the lineup pretty much. That's how good he played in that safety spot next to Harrison Smith. He had 2 interceptions in this game. Hey, get his wife a visa from the Philippines so she can come over during the football season. Just ridiculousness. What are you doing, Joe Brandon? What are you doing? Get this woman in the United States so she can see her absolute stud of a husband just dominate on the defensive side of the ball for the Minnesota Vikings. What are we doing? Let's get this thing done right now. But as far as on the football field is concerned, what did I tell y'all, man? 10-7 is not out of the question right now. I might go through the schedule every single week to continue reminding people, but let's look at what we got right now. At the Packers next week, I will chalk that up as a win tentatively, hopefully. At the Falcons, might be a loss, but I'm hoping it's a win. Very easily winnable. I mean, we can just go through the games right now and just keep it moving. Saints, Broncos, Bears, Raiders, Bengals, Lions, Packers, Lions. Every single one of those games is winnable. Even the Lions, who have played very, very well this season, probably not going to beat them on the road, but at home in Levi's Stadium, every opportunity to go out there and get a win. The Vikings could very easily have 10 or 11 wins and be right in the thick of the playoff hunt at the end of this year. Hey, people might have said I was crazy when we were 1-4 or 2-4, and I was talking about, we still got a chance at the playoffs. People were calling for tanking. People were calling to trade Justin Jefferson, trade Kirk Cousins. And I'm here to tell all those people, you're losers, and you should feel like losers, because if you were a winner, you would know that now is the time to kick it into gear. We got an easy schedule down the stretch, all things considered. Knock on wood that it continues to keep looking like that. The defense is playing better. Brian Flores is an absolute madman rushing and sending blitzes. I mean, blitzes at by far the highest rate in the entire NFL right now. Absolute mad lad, mostly because he knows we got to manufacture a pass rush somehow, and the defensive line, especially the interior of the defensive line, is a mess. Interior of the offensive and defensive line is a mess, quite frankly. But on the defensive side, Brian Flores is compensating masterfully with that limitation in mind. Vikings got everything in front of them, man. Maybe I have serious doubts, obviously, about their ability to win if and when they get to the postseason. I don't want to say when at this point. If they get to the postseason, let's take it one step at a time. The Vikings have broken my heart before, but getting there, very, very good. I mean, very, very good possibility that they get there. There's only a couple games left on the schedule that I would outright say probably going to lose, and the rest of them are very, very winnable. So everything they want is in front of them right now. As far as the Niners go, I kind of alluded to it there in relation to the Eagles. I still think they're, if not the best team in the NFC, the second best team in the NFC right now. I mean, if they're behind the Eagles, only slightly behind, I think Brock Purdy's still solid. They didn't have Trent Williams in this game. They didn't have Deebo Samuel, and Christian McCaffrey didn't look like himself for most of the game. So that it just kind of is what it is there. I mean, we caught them at a good time. And they absolutely stole one. Like I said, I did not expect the Vikings to win this game. They were, I think, 7.5 point underdogs coming into this one for a reason, and I could not have been more giddy with how this whole thing turned out. I love what this team is turning into, and even without Justin Jefferson in the lineup, the emergence of Jordan Addison, having TJ Hawkinson in there, KJ Osborne making some big time catches as well, Brandon Powell coming out of nowhere to make some big time contributions. Josh Oliver doing exactly what we paid him $8 million a year to do, just an absolute road grader blocking. Cam Akers, I mean, kind of unsung in this game, but really good locker room vibes guy. Got some big time touches in this game. Offensively, I love what the Vikings are putting out there right now. They can't run the ball consistently to save their damn life, but Akers is providing a little bit of a different spark there. You're starting to see him break off a few more long runs. Sure, they still don't have a rushing touchdown. We'll get there. We'll get there. One thing at a time here, folks. We don't really run the ball a lot, so it is what it is there. But I love what this team is cooking with right now. I'm really looking forward to seeing, especially when Justin Jefferson gets back off of injured reserve from that hamstring. I am looking forward to seeing what this offense is, because I think it could really be dangerous down the stretch there. A little bit unheralded right now. They start reeling off wins, people are going to have to start talking about my Vikings here. That's all I really got to say about that. Don't punt on the San Francisco 49ers, though. They'll still be right in it at the end of things. I think they're still probably my pick to come out of the NFC for the Super Bowl, even with the addition of Kevin Byard for the Eagles once again. I just love the makeup of that team with the San Francisco 49ers, quite frankly. I still like Brock Purdy as a quarterback. Again, I think people probably got a little bit too high on him. I don't think he's a top 10 quarterback, but he's good enough in that Shanahan offense to get you all the way to the promised land and still possibly win you the Super Bowl. So I'm not overreacting even in the slightest. You get your all-pro, future Hall of Fame left tackle back. You get Deebo Samuel back. You'll be right back in the thick of things. So no worries there. Let's preview the games for next week and then get the hell out of here, shall we? Starting off with the Thursday night game, we got a gross one, Buccaneers versus Bills. Bills favored by 8.5 across the board. No lean on that one. I guess realistically, I would lean the Bills, obviously, to win. I don't know about the cover. I'm staying away from that one because the Buccaneers could very easily turn this thing into a rock fight and make it a one-score ball game just by default in that case. So I'm staying away from that one. Over-under, you can get was 42.5 at FanDuel. It's gone up to 43, and it's pretty much 43 across the board. If you're looking for the under, which is probably the way I would lean in this one, Caesars has got a 43.5, 40, and I think they're the one. I don't know what this FanDuel is. FanDuel New Jersey, for some reason, has a 0.5 point difference between FanDuel and Tennessee for whatever reason. I don't know, whatever. It's 43 in most places, though. 43.5 over at Caesars if you want to bet the under on that one. Staying away entirely, though. Rams at Cowboys. Cowboys favored by 6.5 pretty much across the board. No real strong lean. I think the Rams, especially with Sean McVay, he has a tendency to scheme things up. I have zero trust in the Cowboys on the other side, so I'm staying away from that one spread-wise. Over-under, either 45 or 45.5, depending on what book you go to. So I'm just going to shop around pretty much. There's a bunch of 45s and a bunch of 5.5s, quite frankly. And again, no real lean on that one either. I think the Rams could realistically turn this thing into a rock fight if Aaron Donald just has a game where he just takes over there. Cowboys inconsistent enough offensively to where I don't trust the over, I don't trust the under, just because of the explosive potential of that offense. So again, staying away on all fronts there. Vikings at the Packers. It's +1, plus or -1 in depending on what place you go to. I mean, it's you got a +1 on the Vikings over at BetMGM. And Caesars just got it at a pick right now, so that's basically a similar thing. That's either a plus or minus a half in some places too. I mean, this is basically just straight up take your pick. If you're looking to bet on the Vikings, got a +1 at MGM. If you're looking to bet on the Packers, you got a +1 in most other places, pretty much. So, I mean, take your pick. FanDuel actually right now in Tennessee has a +1.5. So I move on that one quick, though. It probably already moved by the time this actually comes out. So snooze, you lose on that one. I'm staying away, though. Obviously, I'm leaning the Vikings, but it's just because, and I can admit this, it is because of my relentless bias, quite frankly. And I can't bet on it based on my bias. Over-under is 42.5. You can get a 42 over at Caesars, it looks like, and at DraftKings. If you're trying to bet the over, under 42.5, you can get that pretty much everywhere else. I'm, again, staying away from that one. I don't think the Packers' offense is very good. I think the Vikings' offense is very good, so I would probably lean the over, but again, just staying away from that one, quite frankly, because I don't have that great of a read on it. Falcons at the Titans. Falcons favored by 2.5 at FanDuel and Caesars. Looks like those are the only two places that are carrying the 2.5. Everywhere else is 3. So if you're looking to bet on the Titans at +3, everywhere else, you just go there instead. I don't trust Desmond Ridder, and even without Ryan Tannehill in there, with Will Levis in the game, this just feels like every possibility that this is going to be a Mike Vrabel special. And you can tell by the over-under. I mean, the over-under is 35.5 right now. Probably, I don't even have to guess. I don't even have to check. That's definitely the lowest over-under of the weekend. That's an Iowa football-esque over-under line right there. It feels like this is just going to be a low-scoring contest, and Mike Vrabel facing off against his protege, I'm staying the hell away from this one. This is just, I would lean the Falcons just because I think they're a better football team overall, but this, again, this just feels like a Mike Vrabel special where he just wins one 9-7 or something like that and just pulls one straight out of his ass. I don't want to get caught on the wrong side of that one, so I'm staying away. I'd probably even lean the under on the 35.5 too. I think this is just going to end up being a rock fight when it's all said and done. Patriots at the Dolphins, 9.5 in most places. You can get a 9 over at Caesars, Points Bets, and Rivers if you're looking to bet on the Dolphins. I would lean the Dolphins in this one. But, I mean, we just saw Bill Belichick come off of one of those where he just pulled one straight out of his ass. There's no guarantee that he won't do that again. But Dolphins, coming off a tough loss last week, feels like a spot where they're going to get right. I'm staying away from this one, though, as far as the spread is concerned. Over-under is 46.5 across the board. I don't have enough trust in the Patriots offense to pull the trigger on that one. So staying away from that one as well. And we've got our first bet of the day. This one, the Texans at the Panthers. Panthers stink, and the Texans are better than I think any of us thought they would be coming in. So I locked in the Texans at -3. It's currently -3 across the board. That is one of my bets for the week. So yeah, I just think the Texans are going to come in, get the job done. Maybe it won't be pretty. Maybe it'll look dicey at times, but I just like the Texans better than I like the Panthers right now, flat out. So yeah, I think the Texans cover that -3. Over under 43.5. Staying away from that one. I just feel like this could end up being divisional familiarity, all that sort of stuff. Could end up being a rock fight. Could end up being one where you get a cheap over. I'm just staying away from this one. I have not felt great about any of the over-unders in the NFL so far this year. So yeah, I'm not dipping my toe in those waters. But yeah, Texans -3. That is one of my bets for this week. One of, I believe, what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, we got an 8-bet slate once again. So there you go. Yeah, Jets -3 against the Giants. It's technically a road game, but it's in MetLife, which is where both of these teams play. Lean the Jets in this one. I don't necessarily care whether it's Daniel Jones or Tyrod Taylor. I think the Jets defense can very easily win this game with how bad the Giants offense has looked this season. I would even lean the under on the 36.5, though. I think this is going to end up being a rock fight. No bet in this game, though. I'll die before I bet good hard-earned money on Zach Wilson to cover a spread, quite frankly. Maybe that's a little bit effusive. I'll probably end up betting money on the Jets at some point this season. Probably not publicly on this podcast, though. I do not trust that man at all. I don't trust that man as far as I can piss, quite frankly. So, yeah, I'm not betting money on that. I would definitely lean the Jets, though, and definitely lean the under, even at 36.5. It is just going to be one of those games that I think is just tough to watch. Unless you were a sicko, which I kind of am a little bit. So, I mean, could be a fun one to watch. I think it will be a close game, so look forward to that. Should be a fun one in New York. Kind of fun. Again, kind of fun. Jaguars at the Steelers. Jaguars are favored by 2.5. Staying the hell away from this one. The Jags are a better football team, certainly a better offense. The Steelers, though, Mike Tomlin, he just got a habit of winning these games, especially as an underdog. He is a fantastic record of covering spreads as an underdog. I mean, really, if you just simply bet no other money, just bet on Steelers when they were underdogs, you would be up big time. You would be up big time if you bet big money on that. He's dynamite on these underdog positions. So yeah, staying away from that one. Over under is 41.5 at 41.5 at FanDuel, which is lower than literally everyone else. Everyone else has moved to 42. FanDuel is at 41.5 right now. So if you're trying to bet the over, I would reconsider if I were you, but go right ahead. I'd probably lean the under just because the Jags have gotten in some rock fights this year, and the Steelers, I don't trust their offense at all. The only way I would trust their offense even less is if they had Zach Wilson at quarterback, quite frankly. And I'm really going hard on Zach Wilson. He's played better this year. I mean, Nathaniel Hackett has really schemed around his bad qualities as a quarterback. So credit where it's due, but I'm staying away from that over-under. Saints versus the Colts. It kind of a range of spreads all over the place. So, shop around. You can get a +0.5 at Rivers right now. That's the best one for the Saints. Anywhere from -1.5 to +0.5 for the Saints across the board, though. I mean, FanDuel's got a 1.5 if you're looking to bet on the Colts in this game. It's 1 at MGM, DraftKings, Caesars, and yeah, DraftKings again. And then it's a 0.5 at PointsBet and Rivers. So yeah, take that for what it is. It's 0.5 point in favor of the Saints at Rivers. So if you're trying to bet that half, probably just go with Rivers. Probably just bet the money line at that point. There's no real reason to bet anything other than the money line if you're taking +0.5. So, yep, there we go. And unless you're expecting a tie, which will be a bold prediction to say the least. Over under is 43.5, and Saints defense is really good. Saints offense is really bad. I would lean the under on this one, but I don't have a great feel. I don't like betting on unders that are that low, quite frankly. So I'm staying away from that one as well. And we're coming up right on our second bet of the slate right now in the NFL world. Eagles -6.5 across the board. We are taking the Eagles. They are on the road. They have had trouble with the Commanders over the past couple years on the road, but I think this is just it's a perfectly constructed Eagles team to just completely eviscerate the Commanders in this game. Commanders' offensive line is terrible. Eagles' defensive line is one of the best pass rushing defensive lines in the entire league. Offensively, really good receivers, and the Commanders have a really bad secondary. It just feels like things are lining up to where the Eagles could come in here, coming off of a loss. Well, not coming off of a loss, coming off of a big win with Miami. They could very easily go on the road and beat the hell out of the Commanders. That is why I am taking the 6.5 with the Eagles. So there we go. That one's already locked in. Over-under is 43.5. I don't have enough faith in the Commanders to score in this game to cover that 43.5, but I'm certainly not betting the under either, so I'm staying away from that one. But minus 6.5, that is our second bet on the day. Also, have I gotten to it yet? I have not. So we'll get there when we get there right now. But Browns plus 3.5 at the Seahawks, and that is across the board right now. I'd probably honestly lean the Seahawks because they're starting P.J. Walker again in this one, looks like. Over-under's 38.5, so, I mean, they're kind of 38.5 at FanDuel, so if you're trying to bet the under, that's the place to go. It's 38 everywhere else if you're trying to bet the over for whatever reason. If you're just a masochist like that, I mean, go ahead. I'm staying away from this one just because I don't have faith in either of these offenses to score. One, because the Browns are starting a backup quarterback, and two, because the Seahawks are going against the Browns defense, and not every team can score 38 on them like the Colts did last week. And I don't think that's going to be a performance that is repeated by the Seahawks in this one. So yeah, staying away from that one entirely. I'd probably lean the Seahawks though, just because that backup quarterback situation with the Browns. Ravens are on the road versus the Cardinals. You can get 8 or 8.5 depending on what sportsbook you go to. Looks like basically just DraftKings has the 8 right now. Everywhere else is 8.5 if you're looking to bet on the Cardinals. Cardinals have been frisky enough for me to stay away. I would definitely lean the Ravens in this one. I think there's a good possibility that the Ravens come out and beat the brakes off of the Cardinals, quite frankly. But I don't trust that enough to put it in my bet slip, so I'm staying away from it. Staying away from it for now. Bengals on the road at the 49ers. You can get a 3. Niners are favored by 3 right now at PointsBet, and I think that's the only place. Yeah, only place with a 3 right now is PointsBet. Everywhere else is 3.5. I don't know. Coming off of a bye, 2 straight weeks to kind of prepare for this 49ers game. I don't know, man. I have no real good feel on how this game is going to go. I think the Bengals have an opportunity to come out here and win this game. But the 49ers coming off of 2 straight losses, probably getting Trent Williams back, probably getting Deebo Samuel back as well in all likelihood. I got no great feel on this game. I think that the Bengals could win. The 49ers could certainly win. I'm staying away from it. I got no real lean in that one. I think this is going to be one of the best games of the weekend, though. I think it could be the gem of the slate this week. That'll be one to watch, Bengals versus 49ers. Over-under is 43.5. I guess I'd lean the over because I think the Bengals, they can only go up from where they started the season, right? I think Joe Burrow's probably healthier after the bye week, after that 2 straight weeks off. It's 2 straight weeks not playing games anyways. So, a whole week off, 2 straight weeks not playing games probably will help out that situation a little bit. We'll just have to wait and see, though. I'm not betting that over under. Not when the 49ers defense is out there. Not when Coach Lou Anarumo is dicing teams up on the defensive side the way he does. I think it's just going to be a great game, though. I think it's going to be a really good game. Chiefs are at the Broncos. Broncos prepare for pain. If you're looking to bet on the Broncos for whatever reason, you're an absolute mad lad. But if you go ahead if you want to, the FanDuel's got 7.5 for you. Everywhere else is -7, and I would certainly lean the Chiefs at -7. This is a borderline bet for me, but coming off that win last week on the road once again, I'm staying away from it. I may end up betting this off the record, but not making an official pick, quite frankly. I don't have a good enough read. I am heavily leaning the Chiefs, though. Heavily leaning the Chiefs in this one. 45.5 it's kind of a smattering. You get a 46.5 at FanDuel right now if you're trying to bet the under on this game, which I don't know. I don't really have a great read on this one overall as far as the over-under. Just a little spoiler alert there for you. But if you're trying to bet the under, 46.5 at FanDuel right now. Trying to bet the over, PointsBet and Caesars have a 45.5 for you right now, so that's probably the way you want to go. I'm staying away from it though. I could very easily see the Chiefs absolutely just smothering the Broncos and keeping them out of the end zone entirely in this one. So yeah, staying away from it. Staying away from it entirely. Like I said, not loving any of the over-unders this year in the NFL. Bears versus Chargers. Chargers are favored by 8.5 in most places. PointsBet has a 9 right now if you're trying to bet on the Bears. I have zero faith in the Chargers, and I have even less faith in the Bears, which is just it's a formula to stay the fuck away from this one, and I'm going to do that, as I said. 46.5 on the over-under across the board. I'd probably lean the over because neither defense is particularly good, but also I can't trust the Bears to keep up their end of the bargain here, so staying away from that one as well. And the final game on the NFL slate this week, the Raiders are going to the Lions, and I think this is a spot where Lions are -8 at most. Well, I wouldn't even say most places. It's a smattering of 8.5s and 8s. You get 8.5 at FanDuel, BetMGM. Let's see outside of that. I mean, yeah, basically just FanDuel and BetMGM. Everywhere else has an 8. We are on the Lions in this one. I think playing against a really bad Raiders team, you just got embarrassed last week versus the Ravens. I like the Lions to come out and just eviscerate the Raiders on Monday night this week. I think they're gonna win. I think they're gonna win big, and ultimately that's why I bet the Lions at -8. Over under is. It's a smattering of 45s.5 and 46s.5. So, yeah, no great lean on that one just because I think the Lions are going to have a bounce back performance on defense in this one too. So, yeah, staying away from that over under. Lions, I think, will score just fine. I just don't have any faith in the Raiders to reciprocate on the other side of things. But that is your preview for next week. Outside of the NFL, I got a bunch of college bets for you. First and foremost, was looking at this pretty heavily on the podcast the other day. We are going with the over-under 65.5 for Kansas and Oklahoma. Lock that in. Nebraska -2.5 versus Purdue. They're playing really well right now, and I just don't have a whole lot of faith in Purdue, so I love Nebraska in that spot. We are back on the Washington train right now. Embarrassing, I mean, just escaping with one last week. No offensive touchdowns, 15-7 final score against Arizona State. I don't remember who they play this week, quite frankly. Was it Arizona State last week? Was it Cal? I can't remember. Whoever they're playing this week, though, it's Stanford this week. Sorry. ASU was last week. I should probably correct that on my phone right now, but there we go. I got Washington -26.5 versus Stanford. I think they take care of business in a big way, get back on track after that down week. Eagles -6.5, Texans -3, Lions -8. We already went over those. Wisconsin +14.5 versus Ohio State. I waffled kind of back and forth on this one. Honestly, just listen to Late Kick with Josh Pate, and he's got a pretty good betting model that seems to win a whole lot of money over there. So, and the model loves Wisconsin this week. I think they got him a 9-point underdog, and it's a 14.5 point line. So, yeah, I just blindly went with Wisconsin on that merit. That'll be one of my picks for this week. And we're back on the USC overs, baby. USC Cal over 66.5. Cal has scored 30 on Washington before, and I think Washington has a better defense than USC. I think USC probably bounces back offensively after a couple rough weeks. So yeah, I took the over at 66.5 there. So there you have it. 8 bets. Hopefully it goes better than it went the last couple weeks, but that's all for this episode, folks. If you enjoyed, like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. If you didn't, just keep that to yourself and keep it moving, my guy. Go ahead, subscribe, YouTube, anywhere you're listening to this would be much appreciated. If you want to contact the show, either follow me on Twitter and shoot me a DM at Caleb Burzak, or go to my email, unqualifiedanalysis@gmail.com, whichever place you're more comfortable with sending stuff in. Either way, not my business, so go ahead and do what you want. Yeah, I think that pretty much does it. Thank you so much for tuning in into Unqualified Analysis. As always, I've got no clue what I'm talking about. One thing I learned this week, which I absolutely did not learn this week, I just didn't find another fun fact to come at you with. And I think this might be a fun fact that I already put out on the podcast, but it's been probably well over a year since I put it out there. So we'll just put it out right now. In Turkmenistan, it is illegal to have any facial hair. I don't know what the penalties are. They're probably severe, no one in Turkmenistan, but you just can't have facial hair in Turkmenistan. There's your fun fact for you. Enjoy this weekend of games. I cannot believe we got all the way through this recording without my computer just imploding like a dying star. So I'm going to get to editing, then probably just go straight to bed because it's already 8:40 after that whole recording fiasco. So, yeah, see y'all on Tuesday to react to the college football slate. Have a good one, folks.